The royal cavalry, mages, and orcs teamed up to get rid of the bugs. A mage showed her gratitude to an orc by giving him a flower. At the same time, the Baron and Baroness hurried over to Lloyd, hugging him tightly and asking if he was okay. Lloyd, knowing that another wave of bugs was coming, realized he had a lot to get ready for. He was given a new title that allowed him to scare bug-type creatures, making them unable to fight. On the training grounds, Lloyd met Commander Valardi Blank of the White Cavalry. Lloyd complimented Blank for his part in defeating the monsters, but Blank brushed it off, saying they only helped with the cleanup. Although Blank wasn't a fan of Lloyd being in charge, at first he recognized Lloyd's cleverness and strategy. When Blank asked what Lloyd wanted, Lloyd suggested a duel. If he won, the White Cavalry would join the state's engineer corps. If Blank won, they could go back to serve the Queen. Blank was unsure at first and mentioned that Lloyd was just a civilian, but Lloyd was determined and even raised his shovel as if it were a weapon. Blank agreed to the duel, though he did so reluctantly, aware of Lloyd's reputation for using the shovel against traitors. When the duel started, Blank kept his sword in its sheath. Lloyd unleashed a strong triple-core mana blast, which made Blank flinch and lose the match. Tired but successful, Lloyd transformed the 500 men of the White Cavalry into members of the Engineer Corps. Later, on a hill, Lloyd and Javier talked about their plans. Lloyd reassured Javier that the strategy, which had been tested by the orcs, would be effective. Meanwhile, workers were busy carving a giant monster's face into the mountain, representing their hard work and efforts. One day, a huge earthquake hit the barony, causing everyone to panic. Despite the fear, the townspeople had faith in their lord, Lloyd, to keep them safe. The White Cavalry got ready to face a new wave of monsters, a group of Mastodons. At first, Commander Blank was skeptical about the danger, but after checking Lloyd's information, he prepared for battle. They planned to trap the beasts before they could reach the town by surrounding them. Blank expected many losses and thought it was the cavalry's fate. One soldier even promised to propose to his girlfriend after the fight, but Blank worried that the soldier might not make it back. Just before the battle started, Sir Baron showed up without any armor, saying Lloyd had told him it wasn't needed. Blank was confused but listened as Baron explained that Lloyd had a strategy. Lloyd, standing on a hill, began sending coded signals. The soldiers followed these signals to get into position. Blank was annoyed by the unusual plan but couldn't argue with Lloyd's approach. When the Mastodons charged, they were surprised by a huge image of their main enemy, Megalania, carved into the mountain. Following Lloyd's instructions, the soldiers banged their lances together, making loud noises and stirring up dust. The confused and scared beasts changed direction and headed toward the image. They then fell into a pit that had been dug earlier, just like they had planned. Lloyd then signaled for the soldiers to pour water into the pit, trapping the Mastodons. In his usual dramatic way, Lloyd announced their victory with a grand pose. Even though his plan was unusual, it worked perfectly, and the barony was safe once again. The Mastodons were taken away by the canal and ended up in a river, where they calmed down. Blank was amazed they had won without a fight. Lloyd explained that the Mastodons wouldn't return because there was enough food around. The engineers celebrated and the soldier got ready to propose to his girlfriend. Javier worried about the monster waves, but Lloyd reassured him that they would stop eventually, although more waves were coming, putting the estate at risk. Javier thought Lloyd had another easy plan and Blank offered to help. He decided to stay and wrote a letter to the Queen, saying he learned true leadership from Lloyd. He knelt to show respect and the White Cavalry followed him. During a meeting, the Baron asked about a project to build a waterway from Lake Capua, which had been rejected before because of the legendary beast, King Storma. Lloyd suggested waking the beast to scare off future monsters. Most people agreed, so they began construction. Javier asked how they would wake up and control the beast. Lloyd explained that even though King Storma was huge and strong, there was no record of him ever hurting humans. The beast had made the lake himself and would fix any damage done to his home. By partially destroying the lake, they could make King Storma scare away the monsters coming from the eastern mountains. Javier was worried about making such a dangerous creature angry, but Lloyd calmed him down with examples of what could happen. Deep in the lake, King Storma felt their presence and was ready to punish anyone who disturbed his sleep. In the village, Sir Baron was playing with a baby Mastodon, which surprised Lloyd. When Lloyd asked about it, Baron explained that the Mastodon had lost its mother and he wanted to take care of it. Lloyd warned him that it could be dangerous as it grew up, but Baron insisted and Lloyd agreed, thinking it might be useful for the barony later. Meanwhile, Lloyd needed more help for the mission, but the orcs had returned to protect their tribe. He told Greg to take 5 men and follow the tribe, ready to ask for help if needed. Blank informed Lloyd that everything was prepared. Before starting the operation, Lloyd gave a speech to inspire everyone, and the soldiers cheered loudly, striking poses that Javier found silly. Lloyd arranged the land so that the lake's banks would break without causing a flood. Javier signaled he was ready and used a mana blast to break the riverbank. As everyone took cover, King Storma appeared. The creature was enormous and frightening, but Groot found it strangely cute. Lloyd realized he could understand the creature, like with other summoned beings, and wondered if it was one of them. King Storma sensed their plan, accused them of trying to control him, and threatened to destroy them. The creature went wild and flooded the area. Javier fought back with a mana blast, but it barely affected the beast. Determined, Javier drew his Aura Sword to attack again, but Lloyd shouted for him to stop, revealing he had a plan. Javier tried to keep King Storma busy while Lloyd quietly moved closer to the creature. When Storma noticed him, Lloyd quickly dove underwater. Javier kept attacking with mana blasts and his Aura Sword, but nothing seemed to work. Feeling frustrated and unsure, Javier shouted at Storma and tried to imitate its language. The beast, confused, responded that it wasn't his mother and that it was a male. Happy to have its attention, Javier continued to talk nonsense to confuse Storma even more. However, he accidentally insulted the creature, making it very angry. At the same time, Lloyd managed to climb on top of Storma without being seen. Storma tried to grab him, but its short arms couldn't reach. Taking advantage of a moment, Lloyd jumped off and threw a special blue almond into Storma's mouth. This made Storma shrink in size, bringing him back to a normal and manageable size. As Lloyd tried to pick up the smaller Storma, the creature fought back, slapped him, and got away. Lloyd quickly called on his helpers, Pobonong and Hamming, to catch Storma, but the beast fought hard and managed to escape. Lloyd then rushed in to help but ended up falling awkwardly to the ground. At that moment, he felt a strange admiration for the creature. After regaining his balance, Lloyd asked Storma if they could have a conversation now. Storma, unable to resist the moment, struck a dramatic pose and reluctantly agreed to talk. With that, King Storma was finally caught and calmed down. At the mansion, Lloyd talked with King Storma, who wanted to know what he was supposed to do. Lloyd explained that he just needed Storma to roar twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. When Storma asked what he would get in return, Lloyd said it was a kind request from Bangle, which convinced Storma to agree. Lloyd felt happy that he avoided a fight and used love as a way to persuade Storma, even though he knew Bangle didn't really care about the creature. This realization created a moment of understanding between Lloyd and Storma, bringing them closer together. Just then, Greg came back with urgent news. The orcs were being attacked by Megalanias and needed help because they couldn't hurt the creatures. Lloyd quickly told Greg to gather Blank and the White Cavalry at the entrance of the estate. While they got ready, Javier asked about Lloyd's plan, and Lloyd explained that they would use King Storma as a monster domino. He then fed Storma a red almond, which made him grow back to his full size. At the entrance of the estate, both the orcs and Megalanias were amazed by Storma's huge size. Lloyd spoke to the creatures, warning them that if they traveled west, they would become easy targets. Scared of Storma, the monsters quickly ran away. After that, Storma shrank back down and blushed when he saw Bangle looking pleased. Blank thanked Lloyd and said they should leave, but Lloyd told them he had a job for them. Then the leader of the orcs came up to Lloyd and said they were no longer bound by a blood pact. Instead, the leader expressed gratitude for saving their tribe twice and struck a proud pose, announcing that they would start their next mission to revive the tribe of Sand and Steel. Ascent had earlier set fire to the Reed Field area for strategic reasons, which caused a lot of monsters to move around. Among the smart creatures, word spread about a huge legendary beast in the west, an apex predator with dark, deep eyes and sharp teeth that could eat anything. Stories about this creature, which was said to be controlled by a demon-like figure, scared the monsters. At Asfahan's palace, the Sultan found out that the beasts pushed west had come back and were attacking the borders, even with heavy firepower. Realizing their plan had failed, he ordered more cannons and weapons. Meanwhile, Lloyd wrapped up a deal with two unsure loan sharks, making them sign a contract to repay the barony's debts. He also gave them a check to cover all the interest that had built up. After that, the baron, feeling emotional about the financial help, hugged Lloyd and apologized for his past mistakes. Lloyd comforted him and, feeling accomplished, celebrated earning a new title, the ability to get investment money on very good terms. Javier informed that the tribe they had moved had settled well in the eastern mountains. Lloyd, feeling tired but happy, went to his room. While thinking about his late father, he started to cry, admitting that he had taken care of everything. Javier, hearing this, chose to leave him alone for a bit. A few days later, the townspeople celebrated Lloyd wherever he went. Even though he found the attention annoying, Javier reminded him that everyone looked up to him for his help. Suddenly, Sir Baron rushed in with urgent news. A large group of people was coming from the south. When asked if they were enemy soldiers, Baron explained that they were actually refugees. A group of refugees came to the estate, and their leader asked Lloyd if he was the Lord. Lloyd said he was the Lord's son and asked what happened. The leader explained that huge insects and monsters attacked their village. Javier realized that the area affected was bigger than they thought. Lloyd understood that Frontera Barony and Lacona Viscounty were the only safe places and more refugees could come. The refugees asked for shelter, but Javier mentioned the space was limited. Lloyd saw an opportunity for more tax money and told Sir Baron to help the refugees for now. When reporting to the Baron, they worried about food supplies. Lloyd suggested using stored monster meat, and the Baroness tried it, saying it tasted like prawn. The orcs helped set up tents, and Lloyd asked them to hurry with the supplies. They received news that another 100 refugees were coming from the south, arriving faster than they thought. Seeing the shortage of space, Lloyd felt the need to act quickly. After thinking it over, he shared a big idea with Javier to build apartments for the refugees, which would be their largest project yet. Everyone put in their best effort to provide basic needs while getting ready for the ambitious construction that lay ahead. Lloyd designed the apartments using his simulation skill to picture the buildings. From a hill, he thought about how the extra tax money from this project would secure the barony's future. He saw this as his last big contribution before retiring rich and letting Bear manage the estate. He called everyone to the mansion to share his plan, but Javier disagreed with the building's name, claiming it sounded odd. Lloyd dismissed this, saying the focus was on helping people. He revealed his idea of a large fortress for housing and safety, surprising everyone. Later, he confided in Javier about his worries, but Javier felt frustrated being used this way. They went to the Lacona mansion, where Diego looked scared of Lloyd. Lloyd reassured him that he only wanted to talk to his father. When meeting Lacona, Lloyd suggested raising water prices, but Lacona refused, saying the contract was set. Lloyd then showed him a magnifying glass, pointing out a clause that allowed changes, which made Lacona very angry. Lloyd explained that a monster named Domino had destroyed 17 estates, causing many refugees to come to the area. He warned that turning them away could upset the queen. Nervously, Lacona asked what Lloyd wanted, and Lloyd asked for a small increase, draining Lacona's energy. Javier realized then that Lloyd was very clever with money. Lloyd let Lacona decide on the water price increase. During their tough talks, Lacona first suggested a 20% hike, but Lloyd's scary look made him change it to 30%, still facing Lloyd's disapproval. Confused, Lacona finally shouted he would raise it by 50%. Lloyd then clarified they wanted 5 times the current amount, which made Lacona furious, calling it theft. Lloyd cleverly suggested 4 times, and Lacona, feeling like he won, agreed. After they left, Lacona realized he had been fooled. On the way back, Javier felt bad for helping Lloyd, saying it felt like blackmail. Lloyd teased that he was guilty too. Javier promised not to help with such plans again, but later struggled to sleep without Lloyd's singing. Frustrated, he asked Lloyd to sing again, and Lloyd jokingly started. Lloyd was determined to finish the project, using his simulation skills to plan every detail of the buildings. The system admired his dedication as he kept trying until he got it right. Even though he was sick from working nonstop, he pushed himself hard. One day, while walking with Sir Baron, he suddenly collapsed. Meanwhile, in the royal capital Magenta, the queen practiced with soldiers, showing her amazing skill by deflecting crossbow bolts with her Aura sword. During her training, a messenger came to tell her that someone from Frontera Barony wanted to meet her. Javier approached the queen, asking for her help, but she was suspicious of another trick.